it's Haley, and today I'm going to be doing my recommended reads for retellings. So I love a good retelling. I think retellings are awesome because they take something that you're really familiar with and then they make it unfamiliar in a unique way, and you kind of get to see an author's kind of unique perspective on a story that you know. I think it's just amazing. You get to kind of refamiliarize yourself with that story in a different way, and I think it really makes you think about the original story in a unique way, which is awesome. I just really love retellings, and I noticed in picking some books for this that I haven't read a ton of retellings and I really want to read more. So let me know some of your favorite retellings in the comments below because I would love to check them out. So without further ado, I'm going to get into my recommendations for retellings. So the first book I wanted to talk about is Entwined by Heather Dixon. This is the only standalone on this list. There are so many retellings that are series. I noticed that most of them are series, but this one is a standalone and it is really great. So this is a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm, and basically, it's Azalea is the oldest, I believe, of these sisters, and she finds that everything that she has loved is taken away from her and she's feeling really trapped. But then she meets the keeper who can relate to her. He feels trapped as well. He understands her. So he makes her an offer. Her and her 11 sisters can come through an enchanted passage in their room to go to this forest where they can dance all night. But it comes at a cost that she doesn't realize until it's too late. This story is seriously amazing. I think it's a fantastic retelling. It really stays true to the original plot but takes its own twist on it, which is amazing. I love the characters. I love the world that's created. I think it's a very interesting concept, an interesting twist on the original story. And I just think it really reads like a fairy tale. And I think that was the goal with this book, is to have it read like a kind of more modern-ish fairy tale. Not that it takes place in like modern day, but it is kind of modernized in a way, if that makes any sense. I just think it takes a really interesting turn on the original, and the characters are amazing. I love the sisters. I love seeing their relationship, and I just think it's a great retelling and you really should try it. Next is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first book in a trilogy of retellings, and this one retells East of the Sun and West of the Moon. The Beauty and the Beast is the main one in that it retells, and then it also retells the character of Tamlin, who's from A Scottish Ballad. By the way, if I have any reviews for any of these books, before I forget to say it, I will link them all down below as per usual. I'm going to be reviewing this one soon, but it's not going to be up by the time this video is up, but it will be coming up soon, I promise. So this story follows Feyre, who has been in charge of her family since her mother's death, and she's in charge of keeping her sisters well fed, keeping her dad okay. They lost all of their belongings and they're really poor now, and she has to hunt and get them food. But Feyre accidentally kills the wrong wolf, and it ends up having to pay for that by staying with her captor for the rest of her life, basically. He promises he won't hurt her family as long as she stays with them. But she soon learns that her captor is actually one of the immortal fairies that used to rule her world, and she starts getting involved in the world of the Fae and the enticingness of her captor, and she starts really getting engrossed in this whole entire world, and it basically gets in this huge conflict, and it's just crazy. This story is honestly, if I can think of any way, like 2 words to describe it, it's action-packed. I'm using that as a compound word, and it's super sexy at the same time. I wouldn't say that this is a YA book. I think it's more of a new adult book. It's kind of for the older teenagers, but it's a really great retelling. I think it stays really true to Beauty and the Beast, but it really blends it with that fairy lore, and it makes it this incredible story that's so powerful and just absolutely amazing. I really love what she does with the original story, and I think adding the fairies into it just completely, like, it's incredible, and I absolutely love it. The characters in this one are so fantastic, and all the imagery, all the relationships, everything about this book is just so potent, and you just feel like it's all real, and it's just crazy incredible, and all the action, it's just action-packed, super, like, there's the romance in it. It has a little bit of everything for everyone, and it's just great. And the second book in the trilogy is coming out soon, A Court of Mist and Fury. It's actually coming out in 2 weeks, I believe, and that one is actually a retelling of Persephone, apparently, so it kind of leans more toward that, which I think is going to be really cool. I really like that myth. I'm pretty familiar with it because it's there are a lot of retellings of Persephone that we study in English, so I'm definitely familiar with that myth, and I think it's going to be really interesting for this story. Next is The Wrath in the Dawn by Renee Adi. This is a retelling of 1001 Nights, which is an Arabic fairy tale sort of thing. I think it's a collection of fairy tales, but it follows there's a boy king who is a murderer, basically. He takes a new bride every night only to kill that bride in the morning. But our main character, Shahrazad, I'm probably saying that wrong. I think they say Shazi. I'm just gonna say Shazi. Shazi, our main character, she isn't afraid of him like everyone else is. Shazi is planning on going and killing him, so then he won't cause anyone else the same pain that he caused her by killing her best friend. But when Shazi gets there, she realizes that everything might not be what it seems, and now she's determined to figure out what is actually going on. This book absolutely blew up when it came out last year. Everyone was reading it, and most people, like 99% of people, were absolutely loving it, and for good reason. It's a great retelling. The characters are amazing. The writing is absolutely fantastic. The writing is definitely my favorite part of it, and I just think it's such a powerful story, and it really takes the original story and puts its own twist on it, and I think it's really kind of unexpected, which was awesome. I love the world. It's just so, I feel like this book is just a work of art because I feel like she painted a picture and you can really just see things that well because of how she describes them and the language she uses. It's a fantastic book, and I think this is just a great retelling, and I'm really excited for the second one, which is also coming out in a couple of weeks. Next is Splintered by A.G. Howard. This is a retelling of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. I would say it's more so Through the Looking Glass, but basically Alyssa has been hearing bugs and flowers whispering for years because she's a descendant of Alice Little, who is Lewis Carroll's inspiration for the original Alice in Wonderland in real life. So she's a descendant of her, so it's kind of expected, but Alyssa is thinking that this is all fiction until she realizes that it's actually all real, and her mother, who is in a mental hospital for what she's been saying she's hearing with flowers talk, she realizes that her mother's not crazy like she seems, and Alyssa gets swept up in the crazy, dark, and dangerous world of Wonderland, and it's not the Wonderland that she's read about in books. This story really takes Wonderland and turns it on its head. It's this really kind of grotesque, I would just say, like Tim Burton reimagining of Wonderland and its creatures, and I think it works really well. Personally, I liked the first book the best. I was really disappointed by the second, Unhinged and Ensnared. I didn't really like those ones as much as I liked this one because they kind of turn the focus from the fairy tale world more so to the romance. So this one is my absolute favorite. I think this one was just fantastic, so well done. Loved the characters. The world was just so incredibly crafted, and just all the Wonderland creatures were just so, like, all the descriptions really made the world come to life. And I loved that it didn't just follow the original Wonderland, it really took it and turned it completely upside down. And Wonderland is already this nonsensical, crazy world, so doing that was amazing. And I think the writing also was a really good ode to Lewis Carroll because it did kind of have that nonsensical vibe going on, which I loved. I think this is just a fantastic retelling of Alice in Wonderland, and I love Alice in Wonderland, so it's just great. Next is Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Paige. This is a retelling of The Wizard of Oz, and basically the main character, Amy Gum, she lives in Kansas and then is swept up in a tornado and ends up in Oz. But it's not the Oz that she's read about in books, much like the last book. Oz is completely in turmoil because Dorothy has come back, but now she's this crazy tyrannical ruler that just can't be stopped and is sucking all the magic out of Oz. So this one is like the last one in the fact that it really takes a world that is super popular, everyone's familiar with it, and it flips it on its head. It completely just makes it this really grotesque world that you don't really know what to make of because it's familiar, but at the same time it's not because it's so different than the original. I love this series. I think it's really cool. I haven't read the third one yet. It came out recently, but I haven't read it. I will get to it. But I just like the idea of having Dorothy be this tyrannical ruler because I think it's just so creepy, and Dorothy is literally like, you hate her when you're reading these books. You just absolutely hate her. But it's a really cool story. It takes one that you're familiar with and just completely changes it, which is awesome. And my last recommendation for a retelling is the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. This one is the first one, Cinder. I have only read the first two, Cinder and Scarlet. I don't have Crest yet, so I'm waiting until I get Crest to read the rest of them, but these all retell, like kind of retell a different Disney princess fairy tale. So this one is Cinderella, the second one is, why can't I think of it? No, the second one isn't a Disney princess, but it's Little Red Riding Hood, and then the third one is Rapunzel, and the fourth one is Snow White. So they're mostly Disney princesses. But Cinder is such a great story. It's a sci-fi retelling, which is really unique. You don't get that a lot. And Cinder is a cyborg who, she obviously has the evil stepmother who is blaming her for her stepsister's illness. But Cinder somehow finds herself wrapped in an intergalactic battle, and it's crazy. She's trying to figure out her mysterious origin so then she can kind of help with this battle that she's really stuck in somehow, and it's just absolutely crazy. There's so many things going on in this book, and it's really fabulous. I love this series. I don't generally really like sci-fi, but I did really enjoy this one. I just think it's such a cool retelling because it's nothing like the original, but at the same time it is. It's just really taking the characters and putting them in completely different situations in the whole sci-fi world, and it's just really great. I highly recommend it. So those are all of my recommended reads for retellings. Let me know if you have read any of these, your thoughts on them, or some of your favorite retellings. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!